And so like everyone keeps talking about civil war. It's like what is the civil war going to be? What is it going to be? Who's it going to be between?
Let me combat you on this because I'm very good friends with Tim Pool. I'm very lucky to be a friend of his, and him and I have gotten close. We hang out, we play poker, and I'm not just saying that to try to name drop. I'm just saying I'm close with the guy, and he always talks about civil war. And in a way, I think we already had a minor civil war on January 6th, and we lost the civil war, and now everybody's scared. I know you're like, what, one event? How is that a war? But you just look at the weaponization that happened after it. Do I see that as real? I thought that was a real event. I know some people think there was a green screen, but I'm saying I think we're kind of in the Civil War, and it just takes another thing to pop off.
Do you, Alex Stein, think that event was a attempt to overthrow the government, and that it wasn't well, I don't want to lead the question. I'll tell you. Do you think that was let me just say this. Do you believe that January 6th was a naturally occurring event?
No. I think the cops are there. No, I think it was a total government psyop in order to try to entrap a lot of Americans that they don't agree with. But I'm just saying the optics of it, it looked like we were two sides of the coin, right? All the people that were watching it were supporting it and think, that the January 6ers deserve freedom. And then you have the other people on the left that are like, they deserve to go to jail forever, even though they just walked around the Capitol and there's been people that have blown bombs.
Or Norm Macdonald's tweet about I love a revolution where they respect the ropes. Right?
Yeah,
walking through the ropes. They're overthrowing the government. We're walking through the velvet ropes. We're in a sorcery. This is Babylonian sorcery beyond Abrahamic religions. But go on with your Civil War thoughts.
I'm just saying, so I don't believe the election was fair. I think it was rigged. I mean, I think when you look at Joe Biden and Donald Trump won all 50 states when it came to in-person voting, and Joe Biden won all 50 states when it came to mail-in ballots, even the most conservative states. So that opens up the door to fraud, and I think we had a fraudulent election, and I'll be so tinfoil hatty. Maybe Trump's election was fraudulent. Maybe Hillary was right. Maybe they stole it from her in order to put Trump in so they could do the pandemic or do whatever and cause as much chaos as they want in order to, I guess, make them more powerful by destabilizing us even more. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that election was stolen, but because we don't trust the government and a lot of people are not going to trust this next election, there's probably going to be some other event like that if Donald Trump doesn't win, I'd imagine. Or even if Donald Trump does win, there's probably going to be, look at these Palestinian protesters are going to the gates. There's probably going to be another event like that. And it's not a whole civil war, but that's a battle of the Civil War. I think you could argue that.
When were we talking about this? But I mean, like, my whole thing is, who's it going to be between, like, the civil, like, it's not going to be territories. Did we already talk about this?
Yeah, it was Broken Sim we were talking about.
No.
Okay, there's not going to be territories. It's just not going to be territories. It was like North versus South. That was territorial. Well, this is ideology.
Well, you could see a situation, right, where, okay, let's say Texas decided to secede. Like they've not they've been New Hampshire, they've been rolling that around. And it really depends on what the federal government's response. So they have the Lincoln response where they're like, hey, that's not happening, and then we have a war. But I just can't imagine the federal government today, because a war today would just be, bloodbath, a war between our states.
Guys, but war is not like we expect it to be. I mean, now you guys have seen all those clips in the Ukraine where they're just strapping bombs to drones and just blowing people up. So it's not going to be a traditional war like the Civil War. It's probably going to be like a digital war. Just have us hate each other on Facebook and stuff. Like we're probably in it. It's a different war. It's like a war for our mind. It's a psychological warfare. If they could just make us hate each other mentally, we don't even need to shoot each other or kill each other. And is it going to be state versus state? I don't know if it's going to be like Texas and Florida teaming up against New York and California, but I just think that they can divide us and split us up, and we're going to be uncivil, right? And is it going to be your typical war where there's bombs and tanks and people are shooting? Maybe a little, but I don't think it's going to be strategically like that, because even Joe Biden says, they can't do a civil war. I just bomb you with an F-16. So I don't think it's going to be like a war like we're thinking. It's going to be a different war, psychological war.
Well, I think if there would be a civil war, I think if Trump would have got shot, I think there would have been a couple uproars in a couple cities.
If Trump dies, we have a civil war. I mean, people.
But what I was going to say is, I think what the government would have done is just grabbed everybody that went to January 6th and named them a terrorist. Well, you're pro MAGA. You're going to do a civil war.
And this is still on the table. Is COG, continuation of government, And that's the scariest of all of it, because if, let's just say, somehow something happens where there's no administration in Washington, D.C., for whatever reason, it's like somehow Camel Toe and Joe both get taken out, and there's no, then you go into continuation of government, and that's where we basically are in martial law. And that's where our Constitution gets thrown out. And that's where all of us, with Alex Stein and his underwear in his suit, end up in gulags. And they're thrown in gulags. But I don't think it will be the gulags. I think it'll be more like Russian gulags than Holocaust gulags, okay? That's just my opinion. Like, it's not going to be good when it happens here.
Sam, you know what it's going to be like? You just saw that crowd strike, got hacked or whatever. And, dude, America shut down. You couldn't even get on an airplane. All these flights are canceled. So it's just going to probably be some sort of cyber attack where we can't get on our phones and then we can't communicate. And then people are just going to be going nuts. Like, you imagine they turn off the internet or limited the internet for people? Planes won't fly, trains won't fly, Uber won't work, Uber Eats won't work, people won't even, McDonald's won't work. There was a person, I think it was Fahim Anwar, tweeted that he went to Coffee Bean, and because of the crowd strike, he couldn't get a cup of coffee. So we're so automized that the coffee machines run on the internet. So, I mean, unless that could have been satire. I don't think it was the way he tweeted it. My point is, everything runs off a computer, so they could cyber attack us, take down the internet, and we're toast.